Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're here to talk about the 2023 movie When Evil Lurks, or if you prefer in Spanish, Cuando, Acecha la Maldad. This is a movie from Argentina, and it's probably one of my favorite movie that I saw this year. Ramon, you saw that with me, so you're a testament to how much I enjoyed that movie. Ramon, what did you think about this movie?
Oh man, right off the bat, go watch it. Go watch it. It's a hard one to find. Shudder's the only one that has it right now, but it's through Amazon
And
Prime,
AMC Plus apparently.
all through Prime. But yeah, it's two places, so not that easy to get a hold of. Even when Carlos took me on that beautiful date, it was like one showtime for the theater. But anyways, great movie, man. Again, being a fan of like the horror genre and anything suspense thriller, this movie was just like not like anything I haven't seen. I just haven't seen something this good in a long time.
Yeah.
Definitely wouldn't call it for myself a scary movie, or it wasn't a slasher film. It was more of a unsettling, freaking at the edge of your seat, want to know what's next, what's next, what's next. Man, so I'm gonna have fun because literally I wanted to talk about this movie, and I'm glad we were able to get a hold of it pretty quick after it released in theaters. So here we are, and happy to kind of share my
No,
thoughts, Ben.
no, and I forgot to introduce you guys. So, like, Raul, clearly you weren't on our date because you had a 8 to 5 job to go to, so you missed out on that 2 p.m. showing that we went to.
Who
But
goes to work at that time?
yeah, but I'm very excited to hear what you thought about this movie because I have a feeling you don't see movies like this very often, do you?
No, dude. I honestly, like, I kind of got uh Guillermo del Toro vibes watching it. Just because of like some of the like graphic scenes and stuff like that. But it kind of reminded me of him. But like
Yeah, a little bit of Pan's
it,
Labyrinth. Yeah.
yeah. And honestly, it was I I did nothing before watching the movie besides that reminds me I gotta cancel my trial of Shudder before they start charging me. But anyway, but like I knew nothing besides set up my free trial of Shudder, and then like I just went off of what you guys were saying, and I didn't even know that it was in Spanish. So it was me and my sister and my sister's boyfriend that were watching it, and he doesn't know any Spanish. I was like, oh, I guess it's in Spanish. And then like yeah, I went to check to see if it was like any other languages, but yeah, it kind of starts off like it's hard to understand, even though like I'm a native Spanish speaker. But like the
Argentinian.
Argentinian accent is so strong in this movie. But yeah, like eventually you kind of catch on to the accent, but it was good. It was like I'm pretty sure my sister probably is still scared and probably doesn't use any electric
Traumatized.
lights. Yeah.
Traumatized.
No, dude. I'm glad that you weren't able to find it in another language because that would have been a crime had you watched it like dub or something. That would have
Mhm.
definitely been. I would have given you crap. I would have been like, go back and see the movie, and we'll do this again. uh, but no, man, it's awesome to get these foreign movies because I think lately I get a lot of my foreign good movies with like good storytelling, good plots, normally from like South Korea. I think that's a lot of these like movies have come out recently, like Parasite and Train to Busan, and I think it was even The Maid that I saw recently, which I really enjoyed. But it's like now we get another one. I get a movie that's in Argentina, kind of like again they're speaking like our language, so I can understand what they're saying. And honestly, like I don't care what language they're talking about because the movie itself is just great, man. I think in any language, this movie just hits all the right spots, and I just freaking like loved it. I just walked out of this thinking like, man, what an incredible movie, man. This guy, incredible, incredible, incredible.
Yeah.
I definitely I will say trigger warning because there are like a lot of
Oh
graphic
god,
moments throughout the movie, like where you see like impacts of things on people and gore kind of and just messed up things happening to a lot of people
I
and lots of
yeah.
blood and just messed up things like especially as a dad, especially earlier on, it's like what the heck is happening. I'm trying not to cuss.
I think there's a rule in Hollywood, like you never kind of do anything bad to like animals, period, because people just will not, no matter what, like people just will not resonate well if you harm an animal. And I'm gonna say right now, anybody that likes animals, don't watch this movie because this is definitely a movie that throws out the window, and it's like, we're
PETA
gonna
would
hurt
not
animals.
approve.
Yeah.
You might punch your dog in the face, man. This movie.
Is that why you were
You
in a
might punch
is
your
that why you were
neighbor's
in a
dog in
dog
the
shirt?
face.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's one of my favorite parts, and I think probably one of the parts that I'm most excited to talk about because
And here I was thinking like, oh, Ramon's like loving his dog, and you know she's a Boston Terrier. Look at that love, and nope, you're wearing it because clearly you're worried your dog's gonna one day attack somebody.
this is just to let you guys know what kind of dog. This is the image, the wanted poster when I go missing. This is who did it, basically. Except for her name is Sophie, not whoever this dude is. But no, I mean, I you know, to start with the whole language thing, I like that. And then Carlos, you're right, definitely. I think watching any other language would have been not a disservice, but I you know, I see that when I've seen other movies like they're like in German or like shows that are like in a different like country, like I can't even remember the name of this German show that I used to watch that was a horror show, but then watching it dubbed in English, it just never felt the same. Like you don't have the same connection to the actors. Like, you know, you see their expressions, but you know, as things don't add up, it's kind of strange. And then this movie was great because, like you said, not only because it's in Spanish and we understood like 90% of it, mostly because of the accent being a little, you know, different than ours, but I think it really adds to it because you hear, you know, you were hearing some words like possessed and, you know, cursed and things like that. Even, you know, what they call pigs in Spanish is different than us, and it does put you into a different world because I think that's a part of the movie that makes it really successful, right? They're making you think that these guys are from a rural town or they are living in a rural town, right? And I don't know if necessarily the dialect being had is just necessarily for rural, because I know some of them, they live in the city for a little while. Later on, you meet a character that lived in Buenos Aires, like the main city. And then you even have some indigenous, like Argentinian people in there too. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just a beautiful mix of that. And I think just, again, you kind of get a little bit of a real to down to earth feel for the geography, right? You see it's a small town. You have people who are like more indigenous of descent and they speak a little different and they, you know, have different vocabulary. And then you have the people from the city. And I don't know, this goes to show you because when talking about possessions, it gets everybody. So
No,
it's
th-
great.
dude, there's one thing that I told you, Ramon, when we got out of the movie theater, and that's like, you know, I don't say this often, but I feel like there's a big franchise opportunity with this movie, like huge. Even like if America wanted to like steal the story and remake it just so that more people are more familiar with it, because I do want this movie to succeed and I want more of it, man, because it does this thing where it puts you in this world and it's just like people have already accepted that churches really don't exist anymore and devils are real, and if they come out there's these rules based on a song that you got to follow. If not, you're F. And it's just like, I love that about it, man. I love that we don't get an explanation. We don't get like a Star Wars thing in the beginning, like telling us everything that's going on. We just kind of have to find it, find out as we're watching the movie, and then we just kind of like put it together. So I love that so much about it, because even I don't want to get to the end, but at the end something happens and it's like, whoa, like what's gonna happen now? Like I want to know more about that situation. This is so crazy, man.
No,
and and like another big part of it too is it kind of seems like surreal in a way because it's like it's the normal world, but it's also not the normal world because they said that like
No.
there's a thing. But then also these cleaners, they are like they have to be secretive because like the possessed will like kill them so that they don't go and exercise them or whatever. So the criminals like exorcists, but like they have machines and this whole thing. It kind of reminds me of the Golden Compass.
I mean, we're assuming a lot of people kind of have seen the movie, but let's say somebody like listening to this and like they don't really have an idea what's going on. Like Ramon, can you kind of introduce us to like the beginning of the movie and what's going on and how it starts, so we can kind of maybe start from that and just kind of like touch upon everything that we loved about it?
Yeah, that's a great way. Because I was thinking the exact same too. I'm like, man, this movie's a little hard to find. So I wonder how many people actually like listen to or watch the movie before listening to us. But yeah, if you haven't, it's like starts up in a small town, two brothers, like older brothers, just kind of hear like shooting at the distance. And, you know, because it's night, they're not going to go investigate. Like they look like they're in a rural part and they have their dogs. They're all going crazy. In morning, go there, they find this dismembered body. And the mystery doesn't come with the dismembered body. It comes with like some of the things that he possessed. He had a kit that had its strange like instruments.
Kind of looked like a telescope.
Yeah, like a telescope, and then some weird like lever handle type thing that one of the brothers said that he kind of recognized, but then he right away said, "Oh, I don't remember from where." And then even that book that they were like, oh, what is this in Russian or like something? And it basically on there, it named a lady who they know to be a townswoman. Then it turned out that when they went to visit a townswoman, they just essentially found out that she had her son, her oldest son, was possessed. And that's where it hits us as the viewer right away, because they're like, wait, but the way they talk about it, it's not like what's wrong with him, right? They're not trying to investigate what's wrong with it. They know he's possessed. And they're over the fact, like as we mentioned earlier, it's already a thing that in that world that already exists. They already accepted that. And I think as a viewer, I think that's the most exciting part in the beginning, because they're like, wait, what? Like, this is, this? Like, possession is a normal thing. And then just, the story kind of carries through as they're trying to, like, figure out how to get rid of this body or person, because he's still alive and he's, like, disgusting and just pussy and big and stuff. And, like, part of it begins with that, right? The disposal of a cursed being or a cursed person, which is what that one person that died supposedly was going to go do. Anyways, long story short, it's the inappropriate or the like incorrect disposal of this person is what starts the craziness of the movie. Yeah. And I think that's all you got to start like knowing is just that it all has to do with the mishandling of possessed being.
I guess the only thing that I'll throw in there is that the son, he's been possessed maybe for a year, more than a year. And I guess the way this works is once you get possessed, you almost become an incubator for this demon, this hellspawn that's going to come out of this body. So, thankfully it doesn't happen overnight. Again, when we start the movie, this has already been happening to this individual for over a year. But so now it becomes more of like, what do we do with this situation? And yes, you need a cleaner to kind of solve the problem. But sadly, the cleaner that was going to do this thing, something happened to him. And then I guess it's very hard to get another one to come into town, because that becomes the problem, right? They go to the cops. The cops aren't really taking them serious, and they're trying to determine like, what do we do now? And then they go to the guy that owns like, I guess, the biggest land in this town. So it's just, it's crazy, man. I still, thinking about it, don't understand why the cops and the mayor wouldn't do immediately something about it. That's the part that maybe kind of still sits with me, because I'm like, man, like you would think this would be such a huge thing because they have all these emergency things in place. That's like, as soon as you have confirmation and you need a cleaner, like you do everything you can to like fly one in, like so, like even be a helicopter, man, if you have to.
That's kind of the thing though, because like there's a few conflicting things. So you kind of have the fact that like the cops don't really believe them, because they keep saying that like that only happens in the cities. This doesn't happen out here, kind of thing. And then you kind of have the fact of just fear, because if the mom, she's already like saying like she didn't say anything to anybody because like they don't have anything, and they didn't want them to like kick him out of like the house because they don't have anything. That's all they have, and stuff like that. So it's a combination of the fear, the fact that they don't kind of believe them, and then I think they're just crappy at their job too. Because he said that he did what he had to do, that he reported to like the health authorities or whatever.
And no, I mean, I think that's where like it's like I think from the beginning, like the first scene of just like I said, the shooting and the mystery of like what's happening, and then them finding the body already puts you as the viewer at like unease, like you're so unsettled by what's going on. You're involved in the mystery right from the beginning. I think that next part that we're talking about, like how like the cops were like the mayor was like already told, the cops were told. I think that's the first part where I start getting anxious and kind of angry, and I'm kind of like there with the brothers, right? Because again, this is two older brothers, Pedro and Jimmy, and like that's where I start getting frustrated, because here they are trying to tell the cops, and the cops just don't care, and they're even yelling and exchanging like crazy words at each other. And clearly there's a story, and I know we'll touch on later, but clear there's like some sub story with Pedro, with one of the brothers, because the way that the things that the cop tells him seem very personal and insulting to him, and there's just like, I guess it's that tension, man. It just makes you really involved into the movie right from the beginning, like. And then when Reese shows up, like the landlord, like you said,
Dude, and I totally understood what Reese was coming from. Like this idea that he was thinking like the mayor did this because he wants my land or the government wants my land. So they purposely planted somebody that has a demon that's been possessed so that they can come in and have a reason to like take away my land. So it's just like I understood that, man. I understood the fact that this guy was probably the most richest guy in this little environment that they lived in. So it was just kind of like crazy because it's just like you don't want to believe it. You heard the stories and I mean, obviously, we find out that he just did everything wrong, that Reese guy, because you should have just grabbed your wife and you should have left and never looked back. But man, it's just like things just continue to get
Yeah.
crazy after that.
Well, he had the pregnant wife, so I know there was another reason that he was trying to be more protected, but he's the one that started the whole craziness, right? Because then once the brothers tell him about the cursed guy, like he right away rushes to that house and he's over here trying to like already shoot him. And that's where the mom explains that you never shoot a possessed person with a gun, like no
Yeah.
firearms whatsoever. That there, like you said, there is a proper way to like execute or exercise these people. And like his solution is what? Then let's get him out of this town. And that's when the brothers and Breeze all grab him, and it's a crazy, like, disgusting scene because they're trying to lift this big, enlarged, pussy dude with like bed sheets, and like the graphic, just like his underwear. Like if you were staring at his underwear at all, like at the second watch that I did, I'm just like, yeah, like they were just talking about the smell being horrendous. And they're basically gonna remove him and then drive him off like a couple hours away. But then some of the mystery starts there too, because there's a scene and when they're in that room that Jimmy sees the revolver and the bullets, which ultimately becomes like this little like clue by clue by clue part that the whole first half of the movie gives you, that you don't find out what it's really about until like towards the end, which is beautiful. Like this beautiful way to include something like little bit by little bit.
Yeah. Nah, man, it's just again, it's crazy because like I'm trying to put myself in that world and it's like I find out that there's one, nearby. And it's like, am I ready to leave everything that I own to go who knows where and who's gonna help me? And this is like that this is where I wished I knew more about what's going on in this world because they make it sound like these things happen very often, like or it could happen more in like big cities. So it's like, do big cities exist knowing that this could happen? So it's like I just want to look more at the world and just see how people are living today. But yeah, man, it's just a crazy story, man. Everything you're saying is so like true to what I was feeling as I was watching it.
Yeah. Well, the question is, like, I mean, without even getting further into the story, like, what do? You're from a small town. You two are brothers. Like, you have this dude murdered, like, near your property, and then you find out that there's, like, a possessed person. And, like, the possessed person, besides being part of your small town, doesn't really have anything with you, but the results of a possessed being in general can be really bad for the whole town. And but I'm like, do you truly try to remove this dude? And I know they were going off of what Reese wanted to do because he's the one that's more like self-interested. But like I thought from the beginning that was just the wrong move. Like, don't freaking touch him, man. Like, especially that it was so much work to remove him, like from the bed, from the house, and like drive him somewhere different. Like,
well, the fact that they lost him, he fell off, and they're like, oh, okay, I guess problem solved. And it's like, oh my God, it just feels like you're carrying the disease. And just because if I take it to another town doesn't mean that this disease is going to go away. If you ask me, like, I don't care how far, like 300 miles doesn't even seem that far in reality.
Yeah.
I think
So,
that
yeah,
was
I
like,
mean,
4 kilometers, so that's not even that far.
they were going like 2 hours away, and then I think so they almost hit a kid because they were so distracted, and then ultimately like they realized when they got to their destination that they lost the freaking like cursed dude, and then they were like, well, how far was that? Like 20 minutes? So probably they dropped them off like about an hour and 40 minutes away. That's not even the point though, because at this point they already came in contact with this like possessed dude, and they already kind of like removed them, and they basically what we were talking about, that this whole world exists, but maybe because they're from a small town, they don't know all those rules. And clearly the mom knows, but they don't.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just an experience with.
I think one of like maybe the second most shocking part of the movie does happen like the next morning, with Reese's wife, that she's outside and you just hear her scream. And then I guess like, dude, and I remember like looking at you, Ramon, and being like, am I not seeing whatever she's seeing? The goat?
I know. Me too. I was like, It has horns, or like, what's the deal with the goat?
But even that beautiful scene where like Reese is like facing the goat, and you see like in his back, or like I guess it's the back of his head, and you see the horns kind of come out behind his head. Rewatch it if you didn't catch that detail, but it's beautiful because the wife is freaking the fuck out that there's a goat, like that goat, and then he just freaks out, grabs the gun, and
like,
I don't know if we can even talk about this.
Well, she's begging him like, don't do it with,
don't shoot him,
don't shoot him, don't do it with that, do it with the axe. And like, I don't know why he like that. Just kind of tells me maybe he was a weak man, because this idea of like, you're a farmer, you live in the land, like, why wouldn't you just grab an axe and do it, man? Like, especially because of your kid that you're going to be born.
I guess he was. I mean, I guess that's what it is. Like, he probably just didn't have. He was a weaker man because, at that point, he had so much more to fight for, and all he had to do was listen. But he was just so desperate to get rid of that. And I don't know if that whole goes with the whole thing that the evil feeds off the fear. So maybe he was just acting on his fear, right? But man, that did not end well. I didn't expect that's how it was going to end because, I mean, dude unloads on the poor goat.
And then axe right to the face, bro. What was the room like when you were watching this with your sister and that happened?
Dude, it was so like there were so many different moments. So keep in mind, my sister has a dog that's currently
don't get there yet.
We're talking about the goat.
The goat.
No, I know. But so she has a dog here, and then also her boyfriend's cat is here. So they're like animal people. Yeah. So the fact that like all of a sudden, goat shot, but like not even like a few minutes later or anything, but all of a sudden the whole axe goes straight to the head. I was like, what? Honestly, my reaction might have been bigger than my sister and Joe's, but it was crazy because it was like it was a lot of shock and
the reaction came more from the axe to her face because she goes from immediately like killing her husband to like whoop. And have you seen
it's like the poster, right? For
I was gonna say, if you've seen and a good thing because like when Carlos told me about this movie, I didn't look it up, or he didn't even tell me the movie. He just told me come to the movies with me. Didn't look it up, didn't look at any posters, anything. I didn't even want to guess what it was. And then going back and watching the poster for it, I'm like, oh dang, that was right there. But you would have never known. Like that's
because I was trying to get another one of our friends to go with us to the movies that day, and he looked up a trailer. Big mistake, if you ask me. But I guess in the trailer that scene's given away to you. Like, so that's kind of like that's disappointing. I'm glad that I also went in without knowing anything about this movie. Ramon, unlike Raul, you did watch this a second, or like unlike me, I guess you did watch this a second time, and this time you watched it with two other guys. What was their reaction as you three were cuddling in the couch?
Oh man, JD, Alexis, or Paletas and I, cuddle sesh. No, it was hilarious because I mean, again, you watching this movie to like the second time, right? There's no way I've never shook in any of those moments away from memory. Like I memorized that movie the day that I freaking watched it. So rewatching it, there's no shock, there's no awe, but even still, like just the graphic, like subtle nature that those moments have. But man, they were in disbelief. Well, first of all, really questioning the whole, like when they started pointing out the goat, like why the goat, like what about the goat, like so they saw that they were invested like anxiously because they were like, what about the goat, what about like what and then the second that pulls out the gun, I think JD was like yelling out, don't shoot it, he said don't use firearms, and like it definitely, this is the way that the movie makes you feel. It makes you tense. It makes you like unsettled because there's something gonna happen or it's happening, and it's just unexpected. But
I guess I just realized that this movie, at least for me, it fits in a very small collection of movies that I can put in my back pocket, of movies that I can rewatch with other people, not because I want to see the movie again, because I want to be there to get people's reaction. I would say sorry for bothering you, or sorry for, I forget what the movie's called specifically. Sorry to bother you. That was like another one that I would watch with people, like for people's reactions, not just because I love that movie or it was so good. It's just like I want to see people's reaction too. Yeah, this is it's like a whole red wedding, but it's like a red wedding that's just like constantly keeps you moments. It keeps giving you this red wedding moment, like every like 20 minutes something crazy just happens.
But that scene was beautiful then, because at that point how real stuff is, right? Because now you see the effect of all this talk of what happens when you kill a cursed person or you do something to a cursed person. And the first thing they were saying is that it infects the animal, or it affects the animals first.
The animals
and
first,
just to know that like a goat was the catalyst. Oh my gosh, that's a scary ass.
Oh God, kill it, throw it out the window.
Just kidding. Tell your sister we don't mean it.
Raul just grabbed a dog from somewhere in the room.
From my pocket.
From his pocket. No, but it's like, you know, that's after seeing that scene, then you're really like, holy crap, this is that type of movie. Everything they were talking about does happen. Animals are the catalyst. First of all, I started with the goat, right? No better animal than the goat when you're talking about like demons and devils and stuff like this. And then just to see like the effect that it created, gave to the wife, not only to do that to her husband, but then do that to herself. Like after that, like you're like, what else is gonna happen now, right?
No, and I mean, soon after that's when you get like your big moment. But even before that, I do like that once you get to the town, because now his mission, the main character's mission, is like, I'm leaving, but before I leave, I gotta go get my kids that are with my strange wife that I divorced. Now she's happily married with some other guy. But he's like, I gotta get my 2 sons, because I think the daughter wasn't his, right? It was only this.
No, the daughter was other guys. No, but back to that couple with the Ruiz, the fact that she was pregnant too.
Yeah,
like she's axing her face and she's pregnant.
Oh, okay.
That got me.
Well, the cursed son told him that I will come for you and for your child, or he said I will come for the child inside your wife. And that's not terrifying, like, you know, and I think that's what played into Reese's fears. Like, you don't want to hear that. You do not want to hear that.
You don't want to hear any kind of that stuff. Even if you don't believe it, you don't want to hear that. No.
Yeah. And it's like, dude's been laying in the bed. Like, how does he know your wife is pregnant, right? So it's like, you know that shit's real. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. No, but I mean, once we do get to the town, like this whole idea of like, okay, we're leaving, let's go get my sons. I do like that you get a little bit more backstory on your main character and why he might be like a piece of crap himself, man. And so that was interesting. This idea that he has like a restraining order and he can't really see the kids. And you find out more about like, people know this guy. Like everybody kind of knows him. He has a reputation for really horrific reasons, if you ask me.
But we'll talk about that, because I think that was all misconstrued. But that's another part.
I don't know. That's the thing that like I don't think you ever really find out if it was like just a story the wife said or if it like really happened.
So let's talk about it now. So another thing that this movie does beautifully is that it gives you this like little story, like Carlos was saying, this little backstory to the guy, right? To Pedro, like the main actor, even though there is like his brother. And it's funny because like I think this movie wouldn't been as good if you had this mystery past life of this guy that you find out, like again, that scene that you said, Carlos, when he goes and he says, I gotta go get my children, you're like, wait, you have kids? Like, not to this point. And this was like 20 minutes, maybe half an hour in, you didn't even know he had kids, right? Now he's like going after like trying to get his kids back. But there's more things that keep popping up throughout the movie that eventually tell you that yes, that him and his wife like basically got separated. She's living with someone else. She had a kid with someone else. And then, but like later in the movie, she even admits that, or like they talk about like how it was supposedly a lie that she lied about him turning on the gas and trying to blow up the kids because she wanted custody of the kids. And that was mentioned, I think, by the mom or someone else, like his mom. And that's the whole thing too. It's like, but then you also later find out, and this is not like a weird spoiler, it's just like a weird sub story that it's really good. Like you find out that the wife was cheating on him, not only with multiple people, but even his own brother. So I don't think it was him. I think Pedro and this whole story was made out, and that was part of like why this movie's good. It was, you were uncovering his story, but as you get towards the end, you discover that perhaps it wasn't just him. But yes, everybody alienates him, and he's like ostracized because they all think that he's the bad guy and he's the one that fucked up. But then you had the confession of this wife who's like, you know, oh no, I screwed everybody because I didn't want you, and you gave me a broken son. Like, what the fuck?
Well, one of the things, too, that I know for a fact, it feels like in this world that we live in, because clearly churches no longer exist, like demons can come out of, you know, depending on, you know, where people live or whatever, people can come out and possess other people so they can be reborn. But I get a feeling that people in general in this world, like, they're messed up, man. Like, maybe this is just not the nicest world. This is maybe the world where you don't really trust people. You're always, like, guarded. And I feel like everybody has done something bad. Like, I just feel like this is just a terrible world where people are either stealing, lying, having, affairs, and just doing things. So I don't think anybody, honestly, in this whole movie is innocent. I think you can point at anybody, even possibly some of the kids, and be like, dude, these kids are just like rotten. And I think that's probably the reason why God has abandoned this planet. Like, it's just like, hey, the world truly became evil, and there's only demons that can come out and and take over the planet. I don't know. That's what I get from it.
I mean, I think you're pretty close. I mean, or pretty dead on to that whole idea. So I think it's beautiful about the movie, like this, not only that story about like the possessions and exorcists existing, that's their job, is to freaking exorcise these like beings in secret, but just the whole idea, they say that multiple times throughout the movie, how the church is dead. And you're right, like it's just the whole movie feels like they've been abandoned. And not only because they live in a small town, but then later there's a part where a character that we haven't talked about yet talks about like Buenos Aires and the bigger city, that it got to the point where there was so many like possessions and cursed beings that the government needed to hide it because it was happening more and more often, and that it was just a thing that has just happened. Like, but at the same time, like they know it existed, but it was just so bad that it just had to hide it, and or at least do it in secret. I don't know, man. Such a grim background.
Yeah, it's just like, you believe this could happen, man. Like, I don't know. I think maybe that's the scariest thing about the movie, that you believe this could happen, bro. I know you're eating your sunflowers, but how do you feel about this world? You done with them?
It was a mazapan.
There you go. Oh,
that's even better.
No, it's. I definitely want to know more. I don't know if you guys ever saw the Exorcist show, but I'm kind of getting inklings of the show.
I heard good things about it. Like, I didn't know about it, and I might have known of its existence, but I guess people were saying that it was actually good. Yeah,
it's actually pretty good. But yeah, like it's good. Like I'm definitely intrigued on the world. It seems like post-apocalyptic, but not, because it's still normal, but like it's still in a weird place where demons can possess people, and there's no church, which just blows my mind. In Latin America, how there's like no church.
No, dude, Ro, you freaking just broke the formula on how to make a good Exorcist movie, because this new one that just came out totally failed. And it's like, yeah, like, stop with this idea that possessions are so limited and nobody believes in it, and nobody should actually no priest should actually try to exorcise somebody because that's not allowed by the church. Just lean into the fact that this does happen, and it's very common, and when this stuff does happen, you got to take certain precautions because there are rules. So yeah, man, you're like, again, this movie, that's what I love about it, that it's just like, it's breaking all these traditional rules that you're used to from other things like The Exorcist. Like, I like that about it a lot.
Yeah, because it's not like priests, it's like these cleaners.
It's cleaners. It's like Constantine coming in and
yeah.
That's what it is.
John Constantine.
Yeah.
But the question is it the British one, or is it the Keanu Reeves one? Or is it the lady one from
Keanu Reeves?
If you want to know which one shows up, stay to the end of the credits.
I don't know, but yeah, man, that scene when he finally makes it into the town. Well, first of all, like, the whole idea of like, don't come into like touch and contact with the possessed one, and he gets to his ex-wife's house, freaking just basically almost busting the door, because like the new husband opens the door and he's just like, let me in, I need my kids, and he's like, oh, does she know you're here?
Talk to you.
And then as soon as he walks in, he starts getting like butt ass naked. First of all, taking off the clothes that he handled the possessed dude with, takes it off in front of the freaking, like, in the kitchen. In the dining room, just like that, butt ass naked. So when the ex-wife comes down with the daughter, he's like, "What the fuck are you?" I mean, crazy,
and the dog.
All kinds. So then yes, and then there's a very subtle scene where the dog is over here sniffing the clothes that he kind of left behind, and he's taking off, and you're more focused on his ass and him running around butt naked for a second, while everybody's like, "What the hell's going on?" That's another scene that just freaking freaks you the hell out, because can you imagine someone busting in your door and being like, oh my God, I need this, and just like demanding, and they're busting out naked and they're trying to take, your kid away or something like that. It's so nuts that to even follow that you're missing subtlety sometimes. Like I said, the dog sniffing the clothes, and yes, you start seeing a little bit more interaction with the kids. You see the little girl, and there's the dog, the family's dog who belongs to the new husband. And these guys, when I was watching it with JD and Alexis, man, they kept on saying they were getting. I saw them go from like this on the couch to like, and this is before anything even happened. But they just the movie kept on showing the dog.
I knew it was coming. This was me. I was like, oh,
coming. That there's all of a sudden that everyone leaves the little girl with the dog, and the adults are arguing in the kitchen. The girl's like in the dining room
like
with the dog, and they're like here, same size. The dog is huge. The little girl's right here, and they're just standing there. And it goes from like them standing side by side to the next scene. They're both kind of facing each other, and they're maybe too graphic to even describe, but imagine the worst. Like,
well, look, for me, I have a daughter, and she's about that girl's size, and I have a dog, and that dog, my dog is, Shadow. My second, he's pretty big, and the idea of my, I see how he like my dog, he's not an angel. Like, I will say that if he's ever around like kids that I don't know, I would say like, hey, be careful, like don't trust him too much, even though he's never done anything. Same thing with my daughter. I always see how they interact, and I do feel like he somehow does protect her, which is good. That's the feeling that you do want. But again, this idea that the animal that I think could be alone with my daughter, nothing's gonna happen because he's gonna there to protect her, like doing this to my daughter, like, dude, it does make you want to like just okay, like going forward, we're not gonna have any animals because I can't live with this fear of this happening, and that's what that movie put in me, man. And I hate it, and I kind of like have brushed it off since I saw it, and I would never see something that graphic and say like I'm walking out of this movie because I was obviously curious about how the movie was gonna keep going, but it did give me that feeling, man, that I do feel like me and you, Ramon, had a conversation about can your wife make it up to this point in the movie and continue to watch it? And I don't think my wife could, and I don't think your wife could.
No, this would be like this is just a movie where like I would suggest some other scary movies. Okay, Raul, your wife can do a lot of things. We know that. Like it's like I can recommend a whole lot of movies, and I can kind of like sometimes suggest and highly suggest for her to watch some movies with me. This is one that I would not even like I want her to, but I think that would be the part that I'm like, but don't look. But even then, there's so many other parts that are just that bad.
You could almost just like say like, hey, I'm gonna describe to you what is gonna happen, and then we're just gonna get to this point, and then let's just continue the movie. You don't need to see this.
See, and it's tough because like, and I think again, we're talking about it like a bunch of dudes, right? And like earlier today with my two friends watching this movie, and they both had the same reaction because that scene doesn't just end with like a bite. Right, it ends up being with like a bite, and it continues, and the next thing you know, like the adults are still arguing, and not only that, this dog is like kind of using this like a rag doll. Like my toy plays with her. I mean, my dog plays like with toys like that, like trashes them around. That's all going on, and not only that, now you have her brother like on the stairway, like watching the dog and the girl, and it's just like, and it's going for like probably a minute. And it's just like, that's what's hard to watch. It's not even the initial thing because you were kind of expecting something that messed up. But it's just the long, like 1 minute, well, even if it was 30 seconds, 30 seconds way too long. But again, in a good way, it's just really, really hard to watch. And
no, man, this movie does not hold back. And I know we're going to continue to like, talk about it, but it's just like there's more things that happen in this movie. It's like, dude, you're not following the rules what a traditional horror movie would do. And it's just like, not everything could happen, and everything kind of does happen, but yeah, man, that to me definitely was a scene that I'll always kind of think about. And when I recommend people, I will kind of give them like, hey, there's gonna be a point where, man, either you're gonna be okay with this or you're not, so just be careful.
Yeah, it is one of those movies, I guess. It's like full disclosure, like yeah. And then right there, like a few minutes later, it goes now to like another crazy scene because then the dog runs off with the girl, like freaking in mouth, and then obviously everybody starts freaking the hell out. The new dad, her dad, like chases with a gun. After Pedro's like, "Don't take the gun, don't shoot it."
Dude, he's so out of shape.
Why do you say that? Because he like ran out of bread or something?
No, dude, he didn't even run that far. He was like dying.
Oh, I mean, like you're in panic, dude, man. You was already in panic. I don't know. But then even like, again, the movie just does a great job in not showing you everything, because then all of a sudden, like, he runs after the daughter and he drives away, and then Pedro's kind of chasing after them, and the next thing you know, all he hears is a gunshot, and he's just like, damn. because he knows that he obviously took care of the dog.
And then that guy became immediately possessed by evil.
And then what happens next? Oh, the weirder part, right? Then everybody's like outside of the mom's house, and they're all panicking because the dog just ran off with the girl, and they're like, "What?" The neighbors are like, "What happened? What happened?" And then all of a sudden, the girl's just there. The girl's just there. No blood, nothing. It's like, "Mommy, I'm back," and everybody's
fine.
Like, "It's fine. Nothing happened, right?" And then what does she tell the mom? What did she tell the mom? She's like, "Daddy's gonna come back and kill you."
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Because like Daddy does come back and does smash the car, and later on we see that similar to like the girl, the mom comes back and she's perfectly okay. So I kind of would like to see what does happen when something horrific happens to a person, and then you get a scene with them, they're perfectly fine. Kind of would like to see more of that, because like what this is like the moment a demon possesses you, they sort of rebuild your body. Is that the understanding?
Well, not the mom though. The mom's face was pretty messed up.
Yeah. The mom was still jacked up.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I would say if a car going 30 miles an hour hits you, slams you into a wall, like you're gonna have broken bones. Yeah, there's gonna be more to it, man.
Well, I think it still has to do. I think it still has to do with that, because they also describe this in the movie multiple times, that the evil, right, the demon is like attracted to like children and animals, and it protects like children and animals. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why it's specifically like, and plus again, I think it was beautiful that they did that, because how else are they going to redeem themselves from just showing you this freaking horrific thing? Is to show you the girl like nothing happened. And I think that did kind of save it a little bit after watching that, because I mean, then if the scenario would have just been over with that, you would have been like, these people are terrible. Like, why would you show me that? It's horrific. And then no, it's just a girl comes, and she's even dancing around like after the mom gets smashed. She's just like, yay, yay, yay.
Oh, evil, like
yeah.
Dude, and I don't know at what point Jaime picks up their mom, Pedro, and his mom to like,
right after this.
Right after that?
Oh, no, but then you also find out that the older son has autism.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was going to say, like, the mom, to me, give her an Oscar. She was, like, the perfect interpretation of, like, like, all of our Latin moms. Like a Latin mom.
Exactly my mom.
I'm like, this is, like, my
clueless moms. They're like, what? Like, what's going on? Like, oh, my God, how did she let you leave with the kids?
And they don't believe you no matter what you say. It's like, nah, you're crazy. Like, it's just, but then if the neighbor was to tell them, like, I saw this, they would be like, oh, hell no. She saw it. I believe the neighbor.
Like, cheese man all the way. Yeah. Like, where's my cup of tea? Let's go. Tea time.
But
I don't know. Sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to say, I think the mother played probably one of the most educational roles in this movie, because it is the mother that really brought the element of, like, understanding of what's going on even more,
because and the rules, the 7 rules,
because at this point everything's just been crazy. You as a viewer are trying to figure out what the hell's still going on. You see in the movies intensifying and escalating, and things just keep happening, and you're just like, what? Like, I still, like, this is real, this is happening. Now you're seeing the full effect of this, like, evil spreading, and the mom, like, basically coming in a little clueless as to what's going on with the two, her 2 older sons and then her grandchildren. And it's just like, she just starts like nothing, just telling the story. She's like, are you sure you guys saw a possessed person? Are you sure you're not just imagining it? Like, you don't know. And then when she starts telling the little grandchild, like, she educates the viewer by like telling them about the story and the 7 rules about how to deal with freaking cursed, possessed people. And that's beautiful, because again, that brings the reality. Yeah, the reality. Well, and eventually the 7th, we find that out later. But no, I think that's great, man. I think the movie just did that so good.
I remember some of the rules, but not all of them. I don't know if that's, maybe you want to list them out or say the ones that you do remember. Like, I know there's the... Go ahead.
Don't use flashlights. Don't use flashlights.
No,
electricity.
Don't use
I'm not naming them in order. Well, electric lights. Okay. Don't use electric lights. Don't use the weapon.
Like gunpowder weapon, like a firearm.
Yeah. Don't say the names of the devils, right?
Oh, the devils, which that was.
Because you started saying that.
Yeah, and the crazy part is that the names that she said, which first of all, she has a freaking 7-year-old or something kid here. And she's like, don't say the name of the demons. And then she starts going like Lucifer, Beelzebub, and all this stuff. But then the autistic son, like, he names a whole nother one that she didn't mention. And that's when you in your head, you're like, wait a minute, what? Because the name that he said of that demon, it wasn't one that she mentioned. So that's the name that he out of nowhere. Yeah, it wasn't. I looked it up again, or at least I saw it again. Yeah. And then if you do remember, he's the only one that witnessed the crash into the mother. And so to me, that's kind of the moment
When
of
he got
impact or
possessed.
transfer. Yeah. Because you find that out a little bit later. But
I mean, I like later on in the movie, and again, this is why I highly recommend this movie, when they do mention that he's possessed, but the reason why he's not really acting out because then because of the fact that he's handicapped and the demon's going, like, he's almost fighting against his mental state to try to take control. So it's like the demon itself became lost in his brain. So I like that idea. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of an interesting thing that you threw out there. Like, you didn't have to. But I like the idea that it wasn't very easy to take over this kid's body because mentally he wasn't 100% there.
Yeah, I mean, like that whole car ride, like, you know, you think it's his autism that's kind of affecting him because obviously he's a little bit in panic. Like, he's been displaced from his home, and, you know, the dad promised him like apple ice cream and it's not working out. Like, he can't find it. And he's just like, you know, besides saying like words like possessed in the name of the one demon, like, he's just, you know, kind of freaking out. And then ultimately, like, yes, like, you're right. Like, there is, so that's the next part of the movie, right? That I freaking love too, because they finally get to the house of someone that Jimmy knows.
We
don't know who
How about the phone call from the mom? From the wife?
Oh, but that happens. Oh yeah, that happens on the road. You're right. Yeah, tell us, bro, because that was like
yeah, because they stopped like at a gas station or convenience store thing, and he was looking for the apple ice cream, because he promised it to the son, with autism, and then it wasn't there, and then all of a sudden he starts getting a phone call from the ex-wife, and then the younger son, he's like he like jumps up, tries to like answer for him, he's like no don't, and then he like takes the phone outside. Because he saw her be run over by her now husband or her new husband, like with the girl. So like he knows that she's dead or she's supposed to be dead. So then he finally answers the phone, and then it's her. It's saying that like, where are you? Like bring my kids back, and this and that, and just starts going off at him, like insulting him and doing this, that, and the other. It was crazy.
Yeah. No.
So, well, I think that's what there was more focus on the autistic son, because that's when she tells him too, like, that's why, like, I cheated on you because you gave, and also why you ran away because you're not a man. You couldn't even give me like a real son or something like that, which is so messed. I mean, this movie doesn't even get you with like the thriller suspense. It gets you with the freaking fucking hard.
Just how messed up it is.
Yeah, just how messed up it is. But yeah, well, I mean then. Yeah,
because we do get to Mirta. That's the friend that Jaime knows, and I think me and you, Ramon, like when the movie was over, like we talked about that character and how herself, there was possibly like obviously they had a relationship, Jaime and Mirta, but we think it happened while he possibly could have been like a student of hers, like because of the age gap. So that's like that's something like, man, that's very messed up, because again, nobody in this world is innocent, and like this idea of this lady, I don't know what the age difference is, whether it's like 15, 20 years, but she clearly took advantage of him, and he probably doesn't even realize that. He probably thinks it's like something cool that happened to him.
Flat in America,
when he was young.
No, I mean, like I said, that movie, like that part of the movie felt like something different again, because you met this character that was really significant to the movie, because you possibly now know why this possession, this evil might be in the town, because even later through that interaction, she says it like, is this
I hate you guys, I'm gonna
demon? Well, like possession, man, unless you see a big floppy pussy guy behind you, you're good. or a goat.
I know, if you guys see it, just let me know.
Or your sister's dog screaming at you.
Where she go?
Yeah, see? No, but it's like, I don't know. Like, I like meeting her because it did put so many things into perspective. Because now we had an insider perspective as to what was going on in like Buenos Aires, in the big city. She told us the story about how, like, I mean, this was like a slightly later. Like, she told us the story about how, like, her and her husband started a church back in the day, and then they were shams, that they were fakes. And I was at first, I'm like, why? What? Like, why? How are you fake? It apparently they were freaking faking possessions and exorcisms, and that was their whole thing. They were like faking these things until one day they had the first possession, the real curse or real first possession in Buenos Aires was with them. And they were like, we didn't even realize it was true until the person started puking the family members that it ate the last couple days. And then you're just like, damn, like it's crazy, because this is possibly one person that has a lot to do with why the churches are gone, because they were the first, maybe, well, not maybe the first, but one of the last groups of people that were involved with the church, but also using it for like their own benefit and lying about things. And it's almost like they invited the evil in. And as she's telling you more and more, she does say like maybe the evil is here because Jamie brought it.
They were trying to look. Yeah, they were trying to look for
trying to find her, and that's and that goes to show you also like it also like points out why Jamie recognized that tool, the exorcism tool, was because she has her own like kit and everything like that, and that's probably during their affair. He was like, "Oh, what's this?"
Because she became a cleaner like after that. Yeah, because she even mentioned that some monks or something discovered like a way to destroy them.
That confused me. I mean, not confused me, but it says they called them cobras. She was like, and then the cobras came out, these monks that helped us figure out how to exercise them. And I'm like, huh? Okay, sure.
That's another movie, right? I'm telling you, the franchise throughout this whole movie.
a prequel with her and her husband, and that whole idea of them doing like, you know, their church, fake, exactly. And just, you know, their fake exorcisms and all that stuff. And then that first procession and then the escalation of that would be great.
And then a whole training montage with the monks.
There you go. And then it becomes like becomes like the movie Priest, when, you know, they're all like
I love that movie.
Man, I know exactly. I love that movie too.
Well, Paul Bettany.
We'll do something to speed up a little bit of this because I know it's, you know, we're going, but you know, the mom does come in. Eventually, she does catch up to the family. And dude, this is something that I just couldn't believe. Like, she takes the youngest son, you know, she jumps out the window and she does take him. And dude, at no moment did I think this kid was never gonna be like recover, or he was not gonna be hurt. I thought the mom would just like take him, but when you do see later on, like one Jaime, because I guess they decided to split up. Like, I don't want to talk too much about like the plot, but they do decide to split up, and Jaime's like, I'm gonna go get your son. I'll be right back, because I guess because if the son is scared to lose the son, that makes it even harder for the dad to find the son. So then Jaime goes to find the son, and I just could not believe that the mom, when he did find the mom, that the mom was eating the brain of the kid. Like, I just couldn't, like, in my head, I'm like, this is not the rules. You're not playing by the rules. This is unfair. Like, a child like this, like, you already got me once. Like, who am I rooting for? If it's not the kids, like, who the hell am I supposed to root in this movie for, man?
I even love the scene because as Jamie's like pulling up, they make you also like want to look, because they don't show you what's going on first. Like, he sees her from a distance walking with the kid, right? And as he's approaching to the mom, and the mom's walking by, like, you as a viewer can't see her either because the camera is moving throughout the car, and it's just kind of like you missed what's happening, and it's not till the camera returns later and you're like, she's like over here like bucket of popcorn on his brains, like, what the heck?
Man. Now I see what you were in the Mazatlan, bro. You were just like waiting for this part for me to talk about.
The Mazatlan,
the whole city,
and the Duvalin too.
Damn, dude, someone went trick-or-treating. Another part before then too, like, I love the part with the autistic son is just walking upright like nothing. And he's just like, hey, grandma, like, I'm hungry.
Can I have something to drink? Something hot?
Yeah. Like, and then I'm also cold. And then these guys pointed something out. He takes the sheepskin and puts it behind him like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, he's a fucking devil. Like, he's a demon. And he puts like a sheepskin. Like, he takes it off the couch and he just throws it behind him because he's like, I'm cold. And oh man, but he says he's hungry. He's hungry.
Dude, even though I like the mom, I don't feel bad that, you know, later on we find out that he eats her. I guess he must have like cut her out in pieces and ate her. But I don't feel bad because of the fact that she was sort of the one that was supposed to guard the small child, and she got scared and she like left him with the mom. And I'm like, okay, well, that was kind of your fault because you're the grandma and you should have put your life first before, especially if you knew something like this was happening. So that kind of like, again, I don't feel too bad that, you know, we don't see it, but later on in the movie, I think at the very end, that's like one of the very few shots that we get when he's just like spitting out her hair.
Oh man!
Oh yeah, with the dad like pulling out the things from his mouth.
Yeah. Well, we'll come back there and touch it for the last minute. Like, did you guys like? So this is the only part, I guess, maybe that I didn't love the most is the part at the school. Like, there's a lot of chilling parts with the kids, and the kind of the mystery. But I think I lose them a little bit when they're like just can't find the thing, and the kids are lying to him, and it becomes very about the kids too. And I think that's where I'm a little bit like, oh man, like we spend so much time back and forth. Like, why do you even believe kids? Like, clearly we're dealing with like a demon. Like, just be smart. And plus, Mirta's there, so you think she would know better instead of just trying to like go quicker to whatever's going on. And just again, this is where you get frustrated at the main character Pedro so much, because there's a scene where they finally find the freaking body of the possessed, and he's trying to uncover him, and Mirta at this point has her freaking exorcism tool, and she's just like, hurry up, and like
pull him out.
This is not happening quick enough, and then the kids fucking trick him, and she dies.
Yeah.
Oh man, all those scenes, but it's so good just because I think that's where you as a viewer get so freaking anxious and so unsettled, because you just want things to go one way and they're just not going the way that they should go, and everybody's just getting like,
I know, we never even get to see how the tools work, like how.
Yeah, I
know.
Which is why they need a prequel, so we can see that, like, because it look almost like not a crossbow, but it look like like a spear, like on a boat for like whale spear,
like a harpoon or something.
Like a harpoon, yeah, there you go, like a harpoon, but with the bolt and stuff like that. I don't know, it's crazy.
To me, that was truly I mean, Pedro has done a couple of dumb things, but yeah, how he got fooled, and then the kids, that's where they, managed to Mirta, they put her down, and I guess he just loses hope, and he just decides to take out the demon, the best way he can, and that's with an axe, and clearly that didn't work.
No, it was with the big part, the telescope looking part.
It was a telescope thing. That has a little bit of a reasoning, I guess, to it. Maybe that could have worked. Maybe
I don't know.
Apparently not, because that one demon kid spawned out of him.
Well, I guess we did never mention that, but that was the whole thing, is that out of these cursed and possessed people, eventually the real demon is born. And I thought that was a beautiful thing, like when that demon showed up in the form of a boy, like a kid, and as he's walking past Pedro on his knees at this point, because he's kind of given up, he gives him like the touch of like the mark of the devil, right? And to me, like, we were talking about it, Carlos, too, because me and Carlos were like outside the movie theater for like half an hour talking about this movie. And it's just like, to me, that was just kind of him almost like thanking him, because if it wasn't for Pedro, like, none of this really would have happened as far as it happened, right? There was another beautiful scene where Mirta tells Jimmy, like, oh my God, look at the cities in the town. Like, they're all like dark. They started the protocol. Like the protocol of like the demons lose, the possessions start happening. Like, she's like, I wonder just how crazy it is. And just to think, it made me think of like Evil Dead or a zombie movie, where like when things get so out of control that there's like no power, even though they were probably doing it on purpose, but like no power. And you could just imagine what's going on in there, but you're not even that close to that town anymore to like, or you don't want to find out anyway. So
yeah.
I don't know.
And I just have questions like, okay, the kid touched them. So does that mean like now going forward, technically no other demons can hurt Pedro because Pedro has the mark? Because we see that even if he takes a shower, it doesn't come off. Like this thing is permanently engraved in his head. And people are going to know that he's kind of responsible. Maybe that's another thing. It's like almost like shame. And because people are going to know like, oh, you took out a demon.
The Scarlet Letter.
Yeah, dude, but it's just like, what was the reasoning behind that? Like, again, does the demon know that by doing this, he like, it's like, all right, nobody can touch him because I want him to see what's going to happen now. And then with the little boy, when he goes into the woods, like, I want to know, like, what happens now? Like, here we have this thing that wasn't supposed to come into our world. It's come through. Like, what is the whole meaning of this kid now? Like, what is... But yeah, but I want to see more of it. Like, I don't know. I just
of course.
Yeah, like, I just want to see more. Like, is it really just an apocalypse? Is it like people have to like worship him now, and all of a sudden everybody's like worshiping the wrong kinds of churches?
Well, you would assume this would have happened before, because it's not like those like exorcist dudes were like that great at their job. If at one point even Mirta ran away, you could just imagine that it's happened where these demons have been born in other places. So yeah, maybe it's just one of those, like, again, we just talked about 28 days later, maybe outside of Argentina they know the effects, but maybe we don't know what's going on in England and the United States and in Mexico. It could have been even worse, but I don't know. But Carlos, this time around, when I was watching that final scene, you're 100% right? Like the Pedro finds out that the son ate the mom, and then like the last thing you see is the fire. And then when he comes out and he like just falls to his knees and cries, and Jimmy's like, what happened? And then he's just, all of a sudden you see Jimmy looking up at the chimney, and then you're right, there's just so much smoke. So he threw his
son right?
in there.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, see, I missed it the first time when I was with Carlos, and he's like, yeah, they were focusing a lot on the chimney, and this time even more. pay attention to Jimmy after he sees like his brother come out and falls to his knees, and Jimmy's like trying to rush inside the house to be like, what happened, and then he kind of knows that it's maybe too late, but he looks at the chimney, he's just looking at the smoke, and then you see the chimney and it's just like heavy black smoke, and it's just because Pedro just had to throw his freaking autistic son in there.
That's what I figure. I mean, that's my take. Again, there's no definitive answer, but that's my take, that he threw his son in the fire and then he lost everything that he was trying to protect or he cared about in this world.
Yeah.
Other than his brother, because his brother, to my surprise, is like him and his brother are still sticking around at the end of the movie. Crazy.
And so then that just leaves you with what is the moral of the story? There's no moral, but it's crazy.
Why Jaime was going to be taken out by that kid that was still in the barn? And that's when he confesses that he was the one that stopped the guy.
He heard voices telling him to stop the guy, the cleaner that was there to fix the brother.
He ate his mom, and then he's like, "That's the same thing that happened to your mom." And he's like, "What?" And that's why he started running towards the house. I don't know, man. This movie was beautiful in the most like horrific and unsettling way.
But did Jaime get rid of that kid? That kid's just still hiding.
I think that kid is still out. Because I think at this point the kid's not like maybe possessed. I think the demon at that point was using him as a vehicle, like just, as a way to. Because he did that in and out to a couple people, and it doesn't really mean that they were stuck being possessed. But I don't know, man. I truly, like you guys said, this is a movie that deserves a prequel, a movie that deserves an expansion on the universe. I don't know if it could be done better if it's going to be in English, and I hope they would take the same like unsettling, the anxiety building, like kind of feel and mood, because I think that's what made it so beautiful. And maybe it will be a different type of movie if now we're going backwards, and now we're seeing more of a kind of like exorcists and cleaners against demons. Because this was just part of like the surprise and the awe and how crazy it was. And again, that story about Pedro himself was just crazy, because we've been talking about him like he is the bad guy, and he even got stuck with that mark of the devil. But it's like, did he really do, like, besides him spreading this evil around, like, was he really a bad guy, or was just the wife the one who like cheated on him and lied to like take the kids? And so poor guy, right? Like at the end of the story is if he truly didn't do anything to fuck up his family, poor guy, because he just got the shit in the stick.
Well, I think we also kind of get the understanding, and we talked about this, that it was because of what was the lady's name? Rita?
Mirta.
Mirta. It was because of Mirta and it was because the demon sort of felt Mirta's presence through Jaime, and it's the reason why the demon was so close to them, because it was through Jaime that he. No, that is kind of like the reason why I got from it. It was because it's a maybe.
That's kind of the thing about the movie, that like it doesn't necessarily like it puts possibilities out there, but it doesn't really answer them. It might have been because of this.
Well, I guess that was like my take from it when she said that, I came in here and I was hiding, and I think because of Jaime, there was like a presence that he caught of Mirta, and that's why it kind of was so close. That's how I took it, my interpretation of that.
I think the movie I think the movie just does a really good job of insinuating things and making you believe that that's probably it, right? Not saying 100%, because like even you said, Carlos, on that last scene, he definitely threw his kid in there, but because we didn't see it, it's not verified, right?
Like, if you think about it, if the demon's whole thing was to find Mirta to get like that revenge, the goal, it happened like through this close person that he possessed, like the neighbors, and then because of this guy, he led them to that lady. So it's like technically like that is what happened. So it's like it could have been 100% what the demons like his plan was.
I don't know, man. Beautiful movie. I mean, the most terrible way. Messed up, beautiful movie. No, I don't know. It's definitely on top of my list now, man.
That's how this was a great movie, because normally, like, we're whatever movie we're discussing, we're normally like in the 35, 45-minute mark, and then we do like 15 minutes where we talk about things that we've seen, but I don't think there's time for that this time, Ramon. I know you had a lot to talk about.
There was...
and Totally Killer.
We cut it short, too.
I hope more people discover this movie, and hopefully if they want to get a little bit more of takes of like us having this discussion, hopefully they listen to this podcast, because again, we clearly love this movie. But I can only hope that once the writer's strike is over and once movies are being made, like more movies like this, man, more original, like cool, great movies like this one come out.
Do it. Do it. Yes.
Ramon, anything final you want to say?
No. Oh, I mean, again, because we're not going to talk about it. Watch Totally Killers, another good movie I just watched. That's it. Okay. But yeah. Great movie.
Ro,
Watch this one.
anything you want to plug, Ro?
Not any lights to the electricity.
I guess the only thing that I'll plug is Pluto, which it was all right. First episode, great. The second half of the first episode, truly something special, and then the show itself, it was all right. It was good. I liked it, but not to recommend past that first episode.
It's okay.
All right, man. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.
See you, Jim.
See ya. See ya.